In a large city in America, early in the morning, the busy train station was as crowded as usual. People were talking loudly, waiting in line at coffee shops, or staring at their smartphones. Everything seemed ordinary, but that morning, ordinariness was the greatest illusion. The station was located in the heart of the city. Many different people used it every day to get to work, school, or home. Everyone was a passenger, simply trying to get through life. That day, however, was different, though no one realized it yet, not until the suitcase was noticed. Amid the crowd, an old red suitcase stood out, abandoned in a corner. It didn't belong to anyone visible, yet no one thought twice about it. Everyone was in their own world, hurrying to catch their trains, and no one stopped to look at the oddity. But one man, glancing over, couldn't ignore it. He was tired, worn from the struggles of life, but something about the suitcase caught his attention. One thought crossed his mind. This isn't normal. He turned around and carefully studied the suitcase. There was something inside, but what? People and trains rushed by as his heart began to race. There was something unsettling about its position, something strange in the air. Was it just his imagination, or did something feel wrong? He couldn't shake the feeling. Without thinking, he moved towards it, instinct driving him to take action. Within moments, he was standing right next to the suitcase, and in a panic, he decided to call security. He had to do something, but it was too late. The security officer, oblivious to the man's warning, was already heading toward the train platform. Just seconds before the explosion, a strange gleam on the suitcase's latch reflected in the light. Everything changed in an instant. A deafening explosion shattered the air, followed by the sickening sound of twisted metal. The train derailed and chaos erupted. The force of the blast sent pieces of the train flying, crashing into the platform, setting everything ablaze. In that moment, everything became a nightmare. The scene was unimaginable. People screamed and fell as the train crashed. Some were crushed beneath the debris. Others were desperately trying to survive. The wreckage scattered across the station, with glass and metal flying in all directions. Many were unconscious, some trapped under rubble, while the wind from the blast carried screams and shouts, and then a terrifying silence. But it wasn't a peaceful silence. It was chilling, oppressive. Eyes darted around in search of loved ones, fear gripping everyone. The world had changed in that single moment. After a few moments, the wailing of sirens filled the air. Ambulances, fire trucks, and police rushed to the scene. But experiencing a tragedy, being in the middle of it, it left a deep, hollow emptiness in those who witnessed it. Men and women, many of them wounded or trapped, were fighting to stay alive. That day, many were forced to survive at any cost. A woman's eyes widened as she realized her daughter was missing, but with a flicker of hope, she believed that life would give her a chance to find her. She started searching through the rubble, moving as quickly as she could, her heart racing. In that moment, despite the devastation, the fight for survival began. Some tried to escape on their own. Others teamed up to find a way out. A man, one of the last survivors, realized he could do no more. He placed his hand over his face and began to cry. The suitcase, it had only been the beginning, and the explosion had unleashed a much darker, deeper tragedy. Hours later, rescue teams began pulling people from the rubble. The wounded were taken to hospitals. But at the end of it all, the red suitcase remained, still there among the wreckage. But now it was just a memory, a small relic of the disaster. The explosion had turned it into nothing more than a reminder of the catastrophe. At the station, people clung to each other, searching for lost loved ones, holding on to each other for dear life. But something had changed. No one who left their homes that morning returned the same. The past, like the train's derailment, had been seared into their minds. And from that day forward, no one would ever live the same way again. Among the rubble, a faint light of hope flickered, but it was distant, out of reach, a reminder that some things could never be the same.